question for you.
So, let him go back and clarification.
And maybe see if the commissioners would just give it,
Extend.
or just give it to you to have for when you buy it.
Well, right now we do have it.
Put in a
I
bank
suspect
account.
we'd use it
Put
to
in
do
a bank
something.
account. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so the clock's ticking even though it's sitting in the bank?
That's correct.
Well, it isn't
Yeah.
sitting in the bank.
It's sitting in the bank.
It's in
It's been there, yeah.
I think that's gonna take back.
Yeah. Take that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Anything else?
No.
All right, Nick, you're up.
For PSBA report tonight, I wanted to highlight PSBA's current legislative campaigns. PSBA is focused on advocating for mandate relief and cyber charter reform as the 2025 legislative session advances. We've talked a lot about cyber charter and we've had our working pop up and everything. It's related to cyber charter, so I want to focus on their push for mandate relief tonight. So over the past several years, the state has made big investments in public education, but they pale in comparison to increases in mandated costs. Unfunded and underfunded mandates force school districts into paying associated costs and diminish their ability to deliver quality education. Often school districts are forced to raise taxes, increase class sizes, cut staffing positions, and eliminate or reduce programs, among other financial sacrifices. Mandate relief is crucial for districts across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to increase spending in the classroom. As legislation continues to be introduced and the budget season is quickly approaching and here, your advocacy is critical. You can lend your voice to these important issues by reaching out to your legislators, board members, and public alike. Ask them to eliminate or provide schools with flexibility regarding the cumbersome and unfunded mandates that are costing districts across the Commonwealth critically needed resources to address essential needs. Also ask them to support cyber charter school funding reform that more accurately reflects the costs of educating a child virtually for both regular and special education programs. And unless there are any questions, that's the end of my report.
Any questions? Okay. LIU, pretty much the same ordinary stuff, on there all the time. The personnel, they had 6 resignations, 3 retirements, 1 professional, and 11 support positions were filled. So, always there's a lot of resignations. The next board meeting for them is May 6th at 7 p.m. It's Tuesday. Oh, that Lincoln Intermediate. Someone was good. And that's it for that.
Why is that still not in if they change management, is it the whole state or is it?
I think there's a CBA that was just, I think some things were just met. Dr. Marchese has just come on board since January. So Dr. West retired. He has been on board. He is a good gentleman, he's a good man, working hard. He has some really good ideas, and I believe that his goal is to build a culture of LIU to maintain quality staff and what we're doing. He's a good guy. All right, I'm up. So just as I shared previously in March and before, we have been working pretty diligently on a community survey. We've gotten survey questions together to provide for students, staff, both operational, instructional, certificated, administrative, parents, community members. The questions that we've provided are all identifying areas and asking everyone to identify areas of strength and weakness, asking where we can improve, what are our programs that you'd like to have enhanced, what do we do well now, what could we do better, do you feel safe, is the technology that we provide reliable, is it consistent, and how do you use it. So it is a pretty comprehensive survey that we're providing. What you'll see moving forward is, again, Mrs. Ewan, like we like to see the pop-up window. So one of the ways that we thought we would attack this is, beginning tomorrow, place that survey on the pop-up window for our students to take. There are some questions in there. We want to be able to track our students with the responses. so we will collect those email addresses. Parents, community members cannot get into the student survey and take it. Or you can get into any other survey if you would like to see the questions. I certainly have them here, and I can provide them to you so you can see them. But it will go out tomorrow. The hope is, now, believe it or not, we have about 19,000 residents in Littlestown's area school district that are a part of this community. In the past years, we've had between 800 and 900 responses. My hope is that we can get about 1,500 to 2,000 responses at least. That would be my hope, but I'm not sure. So anywhere you go, everywhere you go, please share, take the community survey, take the survey. It is there. You can only do a community survey, then go back as a parent if you wish to do two. It will take about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes with some of them. The average number of questions that I have on it is about 25 questions, and it's about 16 multiple choice and 9 open-ended response. That's the average of them. So I'm trying to get multiple choice questions where I can disaggregate some of the data, but also get opinion from our parents, our students, our employees, to be able to get the best understanding of where we are and what we can do to make Littlestown a better place to be. For parents, yes. Parents, community members, the only one where it is not anonymous is the students. We do have we do make it available if you wish to give me your email address or submit that, you may do so. So if you want to remain anonymous, you certainly can. Yeah, absolutely. Mrs. Mummert and I went back through today to make sure and ensure that there are no connections to community responses, parent responses, or anything like that.
Is there a reason why the student wants their information?
Yeah, because if they're telling me that they're not safe, I want to make sure I know who it is so I can follow up and make sure that they are safe.
Questions or something like that.
Yeah. So it's questions of that nature.
Do you feel as though that students may be discouraged from doing it if they have to give their information?
They may. We have other redundancies in our system to be able to get information from our students if they're not feeling safe. But I'm hopeful that they'll provide active responses for me. And we have it graded K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12.
And are they taking it on their own time, or have you all blocked off some time?
We have not blocked any time off, but we can entertain both options. Give them an opportunity to take it. I'm not forcing them to take it, but if they want to, they can certainly do that here at school or so if you have and you want to be able to see some of those questions, I can certainly share them with you. I want to also share with everybody what we have in the back. I highlighted it last week, and unfortunately, Ms. Rackowitz had some iPads to show some video of the artist in residence that Mr. Moran was talking about, working with the students to take the photographs and do all of this. I will share that with you. We'll see if we can't put that video on our Thunderbolt Proud post. If we can, we'll certainly do that. If not, I will share that with the board. For reasons of confidentiality, I have to identify the students and make sure that they're okay to have their image broadcast publicly. So I do want to just share with our Thunderbolt Proud, and if you go and you take a look, we've had a lot of really positive posts, and one of the reasons we have our Thunderbolt Proud post is to be able to put on display the teachers, the new employees, the things that are going really well with the district. And one of the things that I will mention and share with everyone is all you need to do on our homepage is go to the magnifying glass in the top right corner, type in Thunderbolt Proud, and you will see a slew, at least 30 Thunderbolt Proud posts about employees, events, programs, and things that are going well here at Littlestown Area School District. One of the things I would like to call out too is the events, and you can see that Mr. Moran at ACES, I hope everybody's seen this already. If you haven't, please go on and take a look. Mr. Moran began a few months ago having students do the morning announcements, taking pictures of the students, posting those on the news feed and in that app for the students and the families, and the kids can't be prouder of what they do over there anymore. And it's been a hugely popular event, and it provides and promotes fluent speaking, language development, and it has all of our students across the board that participate. So it's been outstanding. And, oh, now I was gonna say about the Gettysburg Times, and that was taken, so that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Old business, FMX report is in your packet noted, and as well as the monthly report. New business. Athletic field discussion. Well, we have three. Did you want to say anything? Joe?
No, just here with the question.
I would just like to make a comment.
All right.
Context and information is important, and the Gettysburg Times writes articles. They have reporters that write articles, and sometimes things are submitted to the editor, which is edited or changed. So things were mentioned earlier in public, and just want to set the record straight that the individual that's writing the article pulled probably off the reporting and inserted things off the reporting. There was no quote from me personally. So just making sure there's transparency and clarification. Thank you.
Everybody should have the athletic, the improvement field. So the reason behind this is Brian, coming from Turcraft Report, came in front of the board at the work session and provided an update on the design. There's some clarification points of questions that came up through that discussion with Brian that we need to solidify here as a group from the board so we can proceed forward to then have some bid documents that we go out to bid to meet the timelines he presented. So some of those questions we'll go through. The first page here is just a summary of what we've been doing for the past year as a board and as a FPS committee, discussions we've had, and it breaks down further in there. Let the board can read that for questions. The biggest items are what was discussed last week and some complications or considerations moving forward. Some of those are highlighted on page 6 on the corporate list. So some of the ones I'm going to highlight here for just the initial discussion would be the softball ball control netting was a discussion point, the parking, lighting around softball, some irrigation costs, and then obviously subsequently Title IX around those issues. The last page is a recommendation that was previously recommended. It still pretty much holds true today with those discussion items as adding them as alt ads moving forward, or if they are not an alt ad. Just want to note that any alt ad, we want to cast a wide net, as Brian said, and then scale back at bid day. We want the design to be as most encompassing as possible, but if there's the items that are not going to be feasible, we won't want to include those because that is going to be a design fee. So we want to be as inclusive as we can, but if it's 100% no, there's no point in adding it. So that's where the discussion from the full board is. Brian's looking for some direction to solidify his design to send to the county to then get that permit. So that's what he's requested, that the full board have a discussion to solidify what's in the base bid versus what's in the all ads.
So I hear your ask, Mr. Shoemaker, as base bid baseball, this is what is going to go out, and right now you're looking for consensus for what the alt ads would be for that. Base bid for softball is as is, and consensus for all ads for softball.
Correct.
So we looking at page 7 right now?
Page 7 would be the recommendation that we just have at this point in time.
Yep.
But the board can change that from base bid to alt ad or vice versa.
Well, I think it, well, you know,
Why are we putting bleachers on that?
I don't think they need to.
Currently, bleachers are moved.
And there's a reason behind that. The reason is if we leave them where they are all year long, we need to add approximately 40-some places for people to defecate in the stadium.
That was something Brian was working from the borough perspective, that baseball's not during peak season of football, that the bathrooms would
You
be
didn't hear me.
accommodated.
You didn't hear me. If they stay there permanently, we have to add additional bathrooms. The original agreement with the county, or not county, with Littlestown Borough was that they would grant us in as long as we did not add one permanent seat. If we add one permanent seat, more than what's over there now, we have to add additional bathrooms.
It was a discussion we had, and then that Brian was working with the borough to see if we could get,
So you're saying the borough's saying
Connect these
it's not.
pads over to the bathroom.
you've seen if you could get an exemption from the borough to say that the peak time would not conflict with when the football would be, which we would have permanent seats in two different
Their
sections.
keyword is permanent seats. The seats will stay there all year round. So if they move like that, we're following their rules. That's why I don't want to even think about that, because that was added another $1.5 million to the stadium budget back in 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
I think that's the thing. So are we saying there with no bleachers, there's no permit seating?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean,
that-
that's fine, so we just cross that off them.
Say just for baseball, so I guess for clarification, there's bleachers for all that for softball as well.
Right.
That's not separate location.
But it's just take them both off?
No, it's softball, there's that, as long as something pulls out of over there at football, the stadium, and gets
Okay.
moved, at least once a year, we're following the agreement that we
Okay.
set.
But softball's okay then? Okay.
Yeah.
But if he's saying that the borough's going to exempt it, or potentially going to, I mean,
You want to push a button that says you could add another $2 million.
that's, but if you're going to say we don't have to, then.
Well, here's the line of thought behind it. It isn't a matter of so much of what the borough says. By law, if you have an X number of seats, you have to have an X number of bathrooms.
Is that a borough ordinance? or
That's
is that
that's a law. That's a law.
Well, something
It's
that,
the same as,
it was the amount of EDUs, I think, was the original problem, the amount of waste and water that could accommodate. So that's where the peak would come in, where we had, for the stadium's perspective, that's where it kind of was, if we had permanent visitor seating, then yes, we'd have to have a second field house on the other opposite side to accommodate the amount of maximum capacity. So it's something we were looking at, would be an exemption, we would have to get that those are not the same EDUs, that they are interchangeable, and that the same EDUs can be extended to baseball because it's an all-season football. It's just, we don't know if the borough will or won't, it was just something we would have to explore.
but the lighting for the softball, I think that needs to be under the all ads, or even on the radar, because currently it's on baseball field.
I just want to refer to page 6, I think it's bullet point 5, is some of the complications with softball before we have a,
It's not a cost to add or no existing lighting, it's a Title IX.
that's what I'm saying, is that I just want to have a discussion of all the avenues that are up for potential.
Are there going to be any softball games at 7 o'clock in the evening, like there are for baseball? Right, Dodgers use the baseball stadium in the evenings, correct? I understand what you're saying, I totally get it, I'm just saying.
Let me quickly go into a case that happened about 8 or 9 years ago. A high school down south raised money to put really nice seats in like this for a baseball field. They did not do anything for the softball field. The girls sued. Every last, that all the money that they put out for that had to be taken out, because what they did for the softball was baseball, they did not do, even though it's baseball boosters, they did not do for the softball field. And
Well, not
that's-
adding, it's already there.
Between the difference
It
is.
does make a difference.
Right, but we don't have lighting
You don't-
present. So if I can,
Yeah.
yeah, we're making changes to both fields at this point in time. So while the lighting exists for baseball and doesn't exist for softball, last week, as Mr. Walter was sitting right here beside me, he brought up and said, you're going to need to take a look at this. This would be a Title IX complication. So it would be something that we should look at, having a balanced, and that's what we placed here, having a balanced approach for both boys and girls.
Yeah, now the netting,
Are we getting permanent seating for softball?
there's always permanent seating in there. There's always there's always bleachers in there.
Right, if they're, that's not one of the ones they move to the football stadium for the visitor side during games?
Are they permanent, Mrs. Young, the bleachers at the softball field?
I mean, meaning do they ever get moved?
I don't think they're permanent.
Do they get moved to the softball, to the base of the football stadium during the
I
football
don't
season?
think so.
1, 2, 3. No, that one stays because there's a poles
Okay.
connected to it. That one
Okay.
does stay.
Okay.
One of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but like the netting for the baseball field, we don't have to add it to softball because the netting isn't related to the playing of the sport, it's the safety of the neighborhood.
Well, if you're trying to add a parking lot, you have to add that net.
They've got a
right?
parking.
So that wasn't part of
I know, I'm
it.
just trying.
Well, the netting, I don't know where we were at, where we were talking about netting now.
I mean, we could get, a ridiculous amount of data here. Down that road.
And that's why I say it's a balance. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be a balance between the schools.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, that's, it's a football stadium. It's a football stadium, that's the reason for the lights.
It doesn't
And
make a difference.
it's not like we're putting new lights up.
Right.
And everything new that we're adding to baseball, we're adding to softball. So it doesn't make any sense to me that Title IX police is gonna come down on us and say that we're.
There is no Title IX police.
Correct.
There are no Title IX police. However, there are constituents and community members and parents and kids that are involved. And one of the things that we do is we need to at least consider, or if the consideration of the board is that we don't entertain the idea for lighting, that's the consideration of the board, but it comes with a risk.
Shelley,
Yes.
are there any softball games played under lights? Any of our students play under the lights at any stadium currently?
And we only have one baseball game at home at night.
Okay.
That's senior night.
Right. But that, I mean, if there was some held somewhere else, then, you know, it might be one that put under the add-all, but just for the, you know, so that we know what it would cost, so that if someone does ask, we're informed of setting out.
Yeah, and with Title IX, it's about making sure both teams have the same opportunities as each other. So like the netting to now wouldn't really be considered because that's not an opportunity or anything that would enhance either team. But as long as we have a plan in place in case someone does bring up, hey, why is there a light at the softball field and one at the baseball? As long as we have a plan in place to get that towards softball. We should definitely have that in our mind because it